Hey everybody, welcome back to the Trike Show. I'm Harold.
I'm Brayden.
And we're here to talk trikes. This week's episode, we're going to be going over trike maintenance issues that we've seen come up over this week and through our Utah Trikes career. One big question that I've been getting is how often should I be servicing and tuning up my trike, Brayden?
Every time you ride the trike, you should be doing an inspection on it.
Right.
It's a piece of equipment. Things can go wrong.
Right.
Important to do, I think, a pre-inspection as well as a after ride inspection.
Yeah, you want to make sure your tire is pumped up to the PSI that you want it to be. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of cable slack. You want to make sure that your chain's clean, because if it's not, things can go wrong with the gearing.
Right. I mean, make sure everything's running right before you get out there on the trail.
Right.
It's just as important as while you're on the trail. If something goes wrong, you address the problem sooner than later.
Right.
I mean, a flat tire, you should be able to fix the flat tire immediately.
Right.
But as far as like a big tune-up goes, yearly,
at least once a year.
Right.
I mean, what we recommend doing, and I know this is going to be hard to stomach for some people, really get familiar with your trike, rating it and how it feels, and also how do I adjust my trike? How do I adjust the brakes? How do I clean the gearing? How do I make sure everything shifts smoothly? The more familiar you are with those and being able to diagnose and fix those issues is the longer that you're going to be able to ride.
Right. I mean, the less problems you're going to be running into.
Right.
On a say your yearly tune-up, what are your big things that you are checking and making sure are working correctly that you're maybe not doing on your dailies?
Right. You're checking brake cables. You're checking the tension on those. You're checking the derailleur, making sure there's no extensive wear. We're going through headset caps, bolts, everything, making sure everything is tight, nothing is going to rub loose. And we're also checking tire wear, checking chain lubricant, checking everything up and down on the trike, making sure that it is close to factory condition as we as a bike shop can get it.
Right. And if that's something that you're not capable of doing, right, as a customer.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it to a bike shop, bring it to us. We're happy to do a tune-up on it, take a look at it, let you know if anything's wrong with it.
Yeah. But biggest thing to keep in mind, if you see that something is wrong with your trike, get it taken care of as soon as possible. Do not wait. There's no shame.
I mean, riding a broken trike just can make it more broken.
Right. Yeah.
You're not getting the parts aren't going to fix themselves. So bring it in, get it fixed, get it addressed.
Yeah.
Keep spinning.
Yeah. Really. Keep on spinning. Keep on relaxing. Another kind of segue. I kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. When riding on trails, especially here in Utah, we get a lot of go-aheads. We get a lot of really bad weeds and going on some of the trails around here. What are some of the options that are going to be viable for tire puncture resistance?
You're worried about puncture resistance?
Yeah.
I mean, we can go into that. There's a couple of things that I strongly recommend for puncture resistance.
Right. Well, one in particular, but we'll get into that. Yeah.
Right. But our most popular by far is the Marathon Plus tires.
Yes.
I mean, without a doubt.
They even ship us a box of thumbtacks with those. It's like a dare. We love showing it to customers. They'll give us the thumbtacks and they'll try and have us push it through that wheel and that liner, and it just won't go. It has that liner already built into that wheel.
Already really tough. Puncture resistance, right? Another big option, my favorite, the Tannis armor.
Right.
Tannis armor is that little foam liner we put in there to protect the tube, kind of wraps around it.
It's like a big old wad of bubble gum is what
it looks like pink bubble gum wraps around the tube. The thing I love about that is if you do happen to get a flat, you're not stranded out there. You can ride that back.
You still have a couple of inches,
like 50 miles or so,
get to the rim that you can ride on that. Another great option from Tannis is the Tannis airless tires. They're going to be installed into a rim in place of a tire and function very similar to what a standard road tire will be. And since they are airless, there's no air that can come out.
Yeah,
they're puncture proof.
They're puncture proof. There's nothing you can puncture.
Right.
I'd like to kind of circle back and just kind of talk about the importance of a rider knowing to change their tube,
right,
and the right procedure of changing the tube.
Right.
We have videos on it. I'm sure that we can tag down below. But as a rider, it's your duty to know how to change your tire.
Right.
I mean, things happen. And the most common thing I see happen is people will change their tube. Right, it goes flat. Okay, I'm going to pull over to the side of the road, side of my trail.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I pulled the tube out, put a new tube in.
Yeah.
It still went flat. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You didn't take the original problem out of the tire. It's still there.
Right.
You should be pulling your tube out, checking the inside of the tire, whether that's running your fingers through.
What you just rub your thumb along the inside of the tire and see if there's any thorns or whatever initially popped your tire. If you don't take it out, where's it going? Nowhere. Until you take it out.
So you're out there, your tube has gone flat, you've replaced the tube, or you're out of tubes, you didn't take it out in the first place. What can I do now?
What about our other liners, the Tuffy liners?
Tuffy liner? Yeah. Tuffy liner's great and fantastic. When installed correctly, right? Yeah. With all tire protection, as long as
installed correctly.
Yeah, installed correctly is important. The only problem with Tuffy liner compared to like a Tannis armor, it really just protects on the surface of the tire.
Right.
So if anything tries to puncture the sidewall,
very, very easy to puncture.
Right. There's no other sort of resistance or protection towards the tube.
It will not protect you against random knife bandit attacks to the side.
Random glass bottles
glass bottles that are being thrown at you. You rebel.
You're out there, you do get the flat. What are you glad you kept in mind to keep in the sack behind you?
In the heat of the moment, what I'm going to be the most happy to have with me, I'm going to want a tire lever, either a standard plastic one or a steel core like the ones that Park Tool offers. I'm going to want at least a couple of those so I can actually pry that tire up and get to the tube. I'm also going to want to carry either a hand air pump, CO2 pump, or there's actually some really cool electric pumps out there that are pretty small. You can carry those with you on the bags that you can get with the Trike or that come with the seat. Also, a patch kit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they're talked about enough or used as often as they should be.
Right.
I don't like to throw away my tubes.
I know you're a little bit of a tube hoarder.
got a couple.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I always patch out on the side of the road. I don't want to clean a tube, patch it out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So pull that tube out.
Diagnose if you're.
Yeah. Pull the tube out, put the new tube in. I'm going to put this tube that has a hole in it back in my bag, take it back home, and later clean it and reinforce it.
Put in some soapy water, find the air bubble.
Yeah, find where it's leaking from or the multiple spots it's leaking from and start patching up those holes, which not only is going to prevent this tube from going flat again, but also gives it some extra reinforcement for later.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, a lot of these patch kits are going to come with a bunch of patches upwards to...
Cheaper than a tube. I mean, I don't think a tube costs that much, but a patch kit is already...
Really paying about $10. Patch kit's like $2.
Couple bucks. Yeah. And it comes with like 12 patches.
Yeah.
So, and patch up as many tubes as I need.
Super easy to install. Just another thing to keep in mind when you're doing the maintenance. Learn how to patch a tube as well.
Yeah.
You're already learning. Learn some more.
You don't stop. It keeps coming.
Yep.
There's so much information.
You can't stop learning at all.
So, speaking about, airing up my tires, how do I know how much my tire needs? What PSI do I put my tire at?
It's crazy, and it's a little known secret. On the tire itself, you guys aren't going to believe this. As you look at those numbers on the side of the tire, right before where it says PSI, it's going to have a minimum and maximum range. And those are going to be the numbers to where you can set your tire pressure to.
That's the sweet spot. Are you telling me that you don't have each tire we have upstairs memorized to the PSI rating?
Yeah, there's no way even if I could. We have so many tires and so many different tubes. I'd go crazy.
All that information can be found on the sidewall. It's written
on the sidewall. Every tire is going to have it. If they don't,
yeah, I get asked that all the time. Same with like tire size. What tubes do I need for my trike?
Right.
It's written on the side wall of the tire, right? You're going to have the tire size, get a tube.
That. One other thing to keep in mind that's not going to be super evident. There's 2 different valve types that we use, Schrader valves and Presto valves. Schrader valves are going to be the valves that you find on your car. Presto valves are going to be those thinner valves that have the removable core that you unscrew.
A little spin on the top.
Yeah.
Important to note that you can't really interchangeable with those.
Yeah.
Right. The rims are set up for Schrader or Presto valves. Yeah. You can go back and forth, but it requires drilling or an adapter.
Valve to a Schrader, but then you're drilling the rim. And going from there, what's the recommended tire pressure other than what's listed on the tire? What am I going to get from using different tire pressures from going like from a low PSI to a high PSI?
I mean, recommended is really going to be based on where you're riding and what you're trying to do. A higher PSI tire is going to roll a little easier and be a little quicker of a ride.
Right.
But it's also going to be a lot more bumpy than riding on a low pressure
You're going to have
tire.
a lot less give. From
Right.
the tire
I mean, it's just
itself.
like a basketball, right?
Yeah.
I can roll a flat basketball. It's a little harder to roll. It looks a little more comfortable though.
Yeah.
But a stiff, hard, high PSI basketball is going to bounce. It's a little bit more floaty, rolls a lot easier.
Right.
So things to keep in mind within that range of PSI, right?
Right.
Needs to be in that range, but depending on what you're riding, you might need it to be higher. You might want it to be lower.
Yeah, you don't want to exceed that because then it'll blow up in it.
Or go under. You're going to damage the rim.
Yeah.
So keep it within that window, but know that there's some
give there. You just want to keep within that range.
Right.
There's one thing to keep in mind as well. Get really familiar with how to remove the wheels in your trike. With the front wheels, you really don't have to worry about that. You can just tilt it up on one side, take off the tire itself, and then pull out the tube.
Right.
Pretty standard stuff. Rear wheel is where it gets a little bit more difficult. With a quick release axle, it's not going to be too bad to do. Pop off the quick release, pull it off of the derailleur, and then slide it back on. You need to keep in mind what gearing you're in when you go back there.
I mean, something worth practicing at home before it happens to you.
And the safety of your garage, really take the time to familiarize yourself with how to do that, either with a through axle, which is going to require tools, and then with internally geared hubs, which are going to be a lot more difficult, but with practice, anything is achievable.
Yeah, everything. I mean, after doing it for a while, it's going to feel normal anyways.
Yeah.
So better to practice and know how to do it than be out on the side of the road trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, really get familiar with how that derailleur works as well, so you can keep that in check with your cassette. Make sure your bike equilibrium stays equal.
Yeah, make sure everything's working properly, but know your trike. Know how to work on your trike. Yeah. How do I know my chain is working properly? Does it need to be replaced? How often should I be replacing it?
No, it's a pretty good tool that you can get to check that the chain wear and stretch. Park Tool makes a chain stretcher tool checker. You can get that, and that'll tell you where you're at. Most chains are going to last a long time if you're taking good care of them. We also get asked a lot, what sort of chain lubricant should I use?
Chain lubricant? Yeah, I mean, always a dry lube. Very rarely, if ever, would I recommend an oil-based lubrication.
Yeah.
Keeping a dry lube on there keeps all that dust and grime out of your chain.
Yeah, oil lube's going to pick up a lot more.
Any sort of dust, debris is going to be picked up from an oil-based lube,
right?
Which not only is going to dirty your chain, but dirty up whatever derailleur system you have, any of your cassettes in the back, or front chain rings.
You're taking it from, I'm having to clean the chain, to I have to clean or replace my cassette.
Right.
Derailleur, and that makes it.
They're going to wear out. General use is going to wear these parts out. It is about keeping these parts as long as you can and making sure they're working properly. So
exactly.
Please dry lubricate to make sure everything's running properly and aligned correctly.
Yes.
Sometimes an idler can be off and then it just eats apart the frame of the trike.
Yep.
So please make sure everything's running correctly.
Another thing to learn, it's pretty easy to learn how to adjust a derailleur. They have the high and low limit screws. You just want to make sure it's lined up in the high end gear and then high and lined up in the low end gear. Yeah. There's plenty of videos on how to do that.
Oh yeah, and I want to circle back to like chain longevity.
Yes.
Convenient thing. We're on a trike. The chain is longer than a bike.
Right.
We're using 3 lengths of the chain that a bike has. So you should be expecting 3 times longer lifespan than a bike chain.
Right.
I mean, a lot less stretch going on there.
Right.
But it's not making as many rotations as it would on a bike.
A lot less movement there, but still. Yeah.
I mean, main important things, stay familiar with your trike, know how to work on it, know how to fix it. Know there's places that can fix it for you, but best case scenario, you know how to do it. So in the heat of the moment, you're not absolutely lost and stuck out there, right? You have a way of at least getting back home. As always,
remember to relax, spin fast, and ride trikes. We'll see you guys next time. This episode, we talk about a lot of service and maintenance and basic procedures and what you should know what to do. Leave us a comment below of how you guys take maintenance to your trike, what some of your practices are. Again, the more questions and comments and general instructions that we get from people, the more ideas that we're going to be able to share with people to get more people riding and keep more people riding.